Unlimited PTO sounded great until the lawsuits started coming. And the whole world is revolting against unlimited PTO. And these lawsuits are creeping up showing it. And here's one real Reddit story showing all the different lawsuits that are starting to pop up around unlimited PTO policies. From the Ask HR subreddit. I'm an HR director and I need to vent/get advice. 2 years ago, our leadership team decided to switch from accrued PTO to unlimited PTO. It was pitched as this amazing, progressive benefit that would help us compete for talent, reduce administrative burden for HR, and show employees we trust them. I had some concerns about the legal implications, but leadership loved the idea. Our CEO read an article about how Netflix and other tech companies do it, and he wanted us to be seen as a modern, flexible workplace. So we rolled it out. Employees seemed excited. I stopped tracking PTO accruals, which honestly did make my life easier. Fast forward to last month, we had to do a small layoff of just 5 employees. When we terminated them, we didn't pay out any PTO because, well, there's nothing to pay out. It's unlimited, so there's no accrued balance. Now, we're facing 3 separate lawsuits. The total exposure? Over $150,000 across all 3 cases. Leadership is now asking me, why didn't HR flag these issues before we implemented unlimited PTO? I did raise these concerns, but I was told I was being too cautious and not thinking like a modern HR leader. Has anyone dealt with this? How do I fix this mess? Yeah, I'm not surprised to hear about all of this because the hate that unlimited PTO policies have been getting over the last year and are increasingly getting is real. And in my opinion, kind of justified. Now you might remember in this Reddit story, there were 3 separate lawsuits. Let's talk about those. Lawsuit number 1. Former employee in California is suing because California law says earned PTO must be paid out. And her attorney is arguing that our unlimited policy was actually a way to avoid paying earned time off. Lawsuit number 2. Former employee is claiming discrimination because she was denied PTO requests multiple times before being laid off, while her male coworker, who wasn't laid off, took 4 weeks off last year with no issues. Her attorney is using our unlimited policy against us, saying the lack of clear approval criteria is evidence of discriminatory application. Lawsuit number 3. Former employee is claiming our unlimited PTO policy violates our state's sick leave law because we told employees, you don't accrue sick time separately, it's all unlimited PTO, but the state requires a minimum accrual of sick leave that can't be forfeited. My name is Alex Castro. I'm a labor and employment attorney in Fort Lauderdale, Florida with AXC Legal PLLC. Everything that we're going to talk about today, this is not legal advice. But if this sounds like a situation that you need some help with, feel free to click the link below to schedule a consultation with me. Lots of companies put out unlimited PTO policies specifically because they don't want to pay out accrued PTO at the end of the employment relationship. And what a lot of plaintiffs' lawyers are starting to argue, and sometimes successfully actually, is that, yeah, you may have slapped an unlimited title on this policy, but in practice, it's still a hard number of 15, 20 days, whatever we're used to or whatever has kind of become standard across the company. And what these lawyers are arguing is that just because you put unlimited on the title doesn't mean that that PTO hasn't accrued the way it has in practice, which is a hard number. And if we can show that, yeah, 20 days or 15 days is actually what people are using, then somebody's going to say you have to pay out the remainder of that, even though you have an unlimited policy on it, just because the real life doesn't match the title. Big problem with unlimited PTO policies is that because it's unlimited, nobody ever thinks to create criteria around what should be approved, what should be denied, what should we consider when making those denials or approvals. And I'll tell you this, even though it sounds far-fetched, whenever there are gaps in information as to why something happened, an employee who gets fired or who got the short end of the stick will almost always fill that gap of knowledge in with it was discriminatory, or it was retaliatory, or it was because I'm a man, a woman, I'm part of this religion, I have a disability, whatever the situation may be. And so now, maybe you win at the end of the day. Maybe this wasn't actually a discrimination case, but it was enough to get the lawsuit filed, and it's enough that you're gonna have to get dragged through that process and spend $50,000, $100,000 in legal fees defending a case just to win. Yeah, you won, but you lost a lot of time and money in the process, and it doesn't really feel like a great victory. PTO usually isn't regulated by state law. Some places it is, but what's increasingly getting regulated is sick time, where states are enacting laws saying that employees have to have X amount of time off in order to deal with just normal time that they get for being sick. A lot of companies say we have an unlimited PTO policy, so we don't need to actually accrue all that. We don't need to track it. It's already there. If you need to take sick time off, just take the sick time. It's part of your unlimited PTO policy. Problem with that is that in order to make sure that you've actually complied with your sick time obligations, you still need to know how much sick time that employee has accrued under that state's requirement. And the only way you know that is by actually tracking the sick time that the employee should have had at this point in the year and measure that against how much they've actually used. And a lot of companies are messing this up, where a lot of companies are not actually appreciating that the only way that you know if you've complied with your sick leave obligation is to actually do the math. You might remember the Redditor also asked, has anybody else dealt with this? How do I fix this? And the way you fix this is by realizing unlimited PTO wasn't all that it was actually thought up to be. So if your company is not taking unlimited PTO seriously and not creating guidelines and criteria around when it's used, how to approve, how to deny, then you're setting yourself up for disaster, and you're setting yourself up for a lot of the different types of lawsuits that this Redditor shared. Another way you fix this is by maybe just turning back the clock and going back to an accrual policy. Studies show that people actually like these accrual policies because people like knowing I have 15 days in the bank, 20 days. They like that certainty. And when folks have that number that's there, they actually use it. If you need help with any of this, click the link below to schedule a consultation with me.